I'd like to bring this meeting to order. We have to wait for
Adequate
the
notice
music
of
to
this
stop.
meeting was provided and published in the Asbury Park Press and the Ocean Star on January 7th, 2022. Copies of the agenda were provided to the newspaper, posted on public bulletin boards and the Township website.
Thank you. Roll call.
Councilman Albanese.
Here.
Councilwoman Zapsik.
Here.
Councilwoman DeYoung.
Here.
Councilwoman Pontorero.
Here.
Councilman Halloran. Vice President Crate.
Yeah,
President-
here. Sorry.
That's okay, thank you. President Minikino.
Here.
Thank you.
All right, we like to stand and salute the flag. And a moment of silence.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So we're going to have a municipal budget hearing.
Item 4.1, authorized reading of budget by title only.
Can I get a motion in a second?
Motion. Second.
Roll call.
Was it Heather or Lisa?
Lisa.
Who's second?
I did. It was really a tie.
Thank you. Give it to Councilman Albanese.
Yes.
Councilwoman Zapsik.
Yes.
Councilwoman DeYoung.
Yes.
Councilwoman Pontorero.
Yes.
Vice President Crate.
Yes.
President Minikino.
Yes.
Thank you.
So I'd like to entertain a motion to suspend the regular order of business to accommodate the budget hearing. Can I get a motion?
I make a motion to suspend regular order of business for the budget hearing.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilman Albanese.
Yes.
Councilwoman Zapsik.
Yes.
Councilwoman DeYoung.
Yes.
Councilwoman Pontorero.
Yes.
Vice President Crate.
Yes.
President Minikino.
Yes.
Thank you. Council President, this is the time fixed for the public hearing on the 2022 municipal budget. The budget was introduced by the governing body on March 22nd, 2022, and was advertised in the Asbury Park Press and the Ocean Star on March 25th, 2022, together with a notice of hearing for April 26, 2022, at this time. Anyone who has not secured a copy of the budget may do so now. Copies are at the back table. Before opening this public hearing, I wish to outline the procedure. Each person desiring to be heard will raise their hand, wait to be recognized, and come forward to the microphone. Give his or her name and address before speaking. Council President will recognize one speaker at a time. Address all questions to the chair. Where necessary, they will be referred to individual members of the governing body, municipal officials, or our advisors. Questions must be confined solely to the municipal budget before us. School and county matters are not proper subjects of this hearing and cannot be discussed or answered here tonight. I now declare the public hearing open on the 2022 municipal budget.
Thank you. Anybody from public? Mr. Finelli.
I didn't get a chance to read the whole package, but I have a couple clarification questions. If I read this correctly, we have an anticipated surplus of $9,950,000. And then receipt from delinquent taxes, you're getting $2.6 million. But you have a reserve for uncollected taxes at $3.734 million. Is that 3.7 part of the 9.9, or is that additional? She's got a lot of papers.
I do, yeah, sorry.
I only have one.
So are you asking if the reserve for uncollected taxes is separate from the
Surplus.
surplus?
Yes,
Yes, it is. So, doing quick math, that comes out to almost $14 million of taxpayer money that you're holding in reserve. That seemed like it's bigger than it has been in the past, so my question is, why so much? You're only anticipating 2.6 million of uncollected taxes, but you're holding 3.7 million, and then you got almost 10 million in reserve. And again, I bring this up every year. This is taxpayer money that you have interest-free that you're holding in reserve that I'd rather have in my pocket than in your pocket. So why are the numbers so big?
Oh, okay. So I guess, if I'm following you correctly, you want to know why we have so much, why we're keeping more money in surplus rather than using more of our surplus, correct? Is that really your question?
Or not collecting it, yes.
No.
I mean,
we-
in order to have money into the surplus account, you have to collect taxes. If you didn't have so much in there, if you had that money, one way of doing it is not collecting as much taxes, not raising the budget, right?
No, we've met with him before to try and explain this to you. We have to keep money in surplus because we're going to need it in next year's budget. And I think I've explained that to you as far as I have to look for next year. I can't just say, okay, well, you and whomever else don't really want an increase in their taxes, so let's just use more of the surplus. And I can't, it doesn't make sense to do that, Mr. Finley, and I've tried to explain that to you.
Okay, but what you're saying is, you either have the money in reserve this year, which you've already collected, or you could raise the taxes next year. Now, it's not preventing you from, not you personally, it's not preventing you from raising the taxes or raising the budget, but you have that money that you might use for next year's budget for a whole year, tax-free.
And
It's all money.
But you're also getting surplus and reserve confused. Surplus is used on the anticipated side. The reserve is used on the appropriation side. They're not synonymous. They're not the same thing.
Okay, we're just talking about surplus right now, right?
Well, you keep using reserve and the amount that we have, the reserve for uncollected taxes in the budget, don't you?
Okay, it's still money that you have that you're not using. That's my concern. If you need it next year, okay, you raise the taxes to cover that, or you cut the budget to cover that. But what you've got right now is $14 million that you collected from taxpayers that you're not using right now. It's just sitting there. You're shaking your head no. I mean, what am I saying wrong? You have the money, you collected it, and you're not using it right now. You're anticipating using it, but you're not using it.
Even when you keep saying surplus, it's not strictly, it's not taxes. That surplus is that we receive that many different ways. What makes that up? It's not tax money. It's not taxes.
The bulk of it is. Most of the money in the budget is tax money, no?
And the reserve for uncollected taxes is used for the people that have their house liens, and we don't receive all the money that we need for the year. So we have that on the appropriation side. I don't know.
Yeah, so, just simply put, the reserve for uncollected taxes also settles the tax appeals that we resolved throughout the year.
Okay.
We have no idea of knowing how many of those are going to be filed.
And I have that down, tax appeal money.
So that
That comes out of the reserve, or it comes out of the
The reserve, that's
Okay.
there for people.
What does that run a year, roughly?
it just changes every year. It's never the same number.
Take it, why,
No,
WSAG?
no,
No?
no,
No?
no.
This is a state budget amount based on what we feel we need to have in place to pay out any tax appeals that have to be resolved. And the surplus is also how we balance the budget. So if we take that out now, next year we're going to be coming from behind by a very large amount. It's all part of what's used to balance this budget. So if you take it out now, just to make it look good short term, next year we're going to be coming from so far behind that you're going to be standing up here having an absolute meltdown about
No, what I'm seeing right now is a little bit of smoke and mirrors. Because if you're gonna need the money next year, but you've already collected that money, that's what the point that you're missing. You've already got the money that you're gonna need for next year. Now, if you need the money next year, then collect it next year. Don't hold on to $10 million, no, 10 million, $14 million of monies. All right, and I'll grant it, it's maybe not all tax money, but the majority of your budget comes from taxes. Maybe not the whole thing. You get state aid, federal aid, but the majority of it comes. What I'm saying is, it's our money. It's taxpayers' money. If it wasn't there, it would be in our pocket until you need it. And you might not need it. I understand you got to put money away for snow or something like that, but if you don't need it for snow next year, you got it. But you didn't need it. You still have it. And you could carry it over year to year, and you could apply it to your budget year to year, but it's still taxpayer money.
And we-
Did you have something you wanted to say, Heather? You're shaking your head no.
The surplus is also used to protect our bond rating. We have such a good bond rating because of our surplus, and it's how we're able to borrow money at the rate that we can. Also, what happens if there's another Sandy or some type of disaster? The surplus is used so that we're able to cover those types of costs. So we do need a surplus for more reasons than what you're saying. It's not as cut and dry as we're keeping your money. We're not. We're being fiscally responsible and fiscally conservative so that we can maintain our taxes at a rate that is, that most people can handle. So we don't increase our tax. We don't need to increase our taxes 24%. This is why we are being fiscally responsible. And you coming up here and just saying that, we're keeping your money, we wouldn't keep your money unless we absolutely had to. And this is how you balance a budget every year. That's what I had to say.
I'm not just coming up here saying something to be derogatory. I mean, $14 million
Well, Mr.
is a
Finelli,
lot
you've
of
been
money.
explained this year after year, and we've tried to explain this to
And
you.
the numbers keep going up.
No, we keep the surplus around the same number every single year. Every year, we keep it around $10 million.
And I want you to,
How much?
Around $10 million.
Okay. And the number I just quoted is 14 million.
But you're adding.
You're adding the
reserve for
reserve, which
collected
is,
taxes,
which
which
is
is not.
for. No, it's not.
it's
The-
not. No, it's
Stop.
not.
That
No,
is
it's
not.
No, it's-
It's all money, it's all dollars, it's not being used, it's sitting there. And it's nice that you have a bond rating, but then we're paying for that bond rating. I mean, we're paying it with taxpayer money.
And you're getting a good bond rating because we're being fiscally responsible.
Mrs. Cole.
Nan Carl, 18 Greenbrier Boulevard. I've been at meetings of many different organizations where budgets were presented. This is not the way you present a budget. And I know you don't like to hear me say it, but it says a caucus public. There is no caucus ever done. We should have a caucus one week and the public the next. And at the caucus, line by line, should be read and explained to us. Vic knows something about budgets. I know a little bit, but nothing like the in-depth that Vic or of George Scott, whom I wonder if he's still with us on this earth. I hope and pray that he's okay, but the longer it goes that I haven't seen him, the more I fear he's not. But most of us don't understand budgets, and for that reason, you can't just do this. And number one, to call for questions and bring us up. Vic goes to the trouble. You talked about, I don't know, was it the last meeting or the one before, how much other work you do than what we see. I know what goes into being. I've been coming to meetings for 20 years, and I know how the previous administrations, going back to Joe Scarpelli, and they were explained at a caucus meeting in depth, and we had plenty of time to pull it apart and ask questions and point out typos in it. You need to explain for me, for people at home that really don't know anything about it, and not just have us asking questions. First of all, I don't do it ahead of time. I have too much else on my hands to do. So please, before you start having us come up, I forget your last name, Maureen. Laffey, yes, I remember Laffey now. I know people. But have Miss Laffey and Ms. Senior moment, sorry, many senior moments lately, the administrator, read the budget to us by the line, make sure we know what it means, and go on to the next line and the next.
Thank you. Anybody else from public?
Just one short thing. John O'Donnell, 32 Lagoon Drive, West. Regarding the Najeco dredging project, I just want to thank them for all the strong efforts. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anybody else from public, please? Yes? Yeah. Yeah, it's all right.
Yeah, I know John Sluka, 950 Sylvia Court. I know we get explained to Mr. Finelli every year. Every year, your explanations confuse me. I know what I'm listening to before it, but the explanations drive me crazy. It's basically we're paying $135 per person somewhere along the way, whether it was 10 years ago or 15 years ago, wherever we took the money. How much does those bond ratings actually improve us? What do we get back for that $135 per person?
So,
Unless the bond ratings make the borrowings cheaper, how much? Is it worth $135, my question? We don't have an idea how much? Oh. Maybe for the future we could find out, and I'm in some general meeting, just let us know. I'm not in a rush. I know you're going to approve the budget anyhow.
I mean, just look at the, the debt reduction plan that we've had,
I'm
we've
not
nearly
worried about that.
tripled of what we were supposed
No,
to.
your explanation
But
was...
that is due to the bond ratings and us
Right.
being able to have a
How
good
much does the
rating.
bond rating save us? That's my question. Not, it saves us. I know it saves us. Because I know if we have AAA rating or a AA rating or AA, little a, and whatever it is, whichever rating agency we deal with, how much does a better bond rating, in other words, if we have AA right now, would we have single A if we didn't have that $10 million? And if so, how much does that save us? If we have a AA rating and we eliminate that surplus, do we still have a AA rating? I don't need to know tonight. Somewhere in the future, maybe you could, okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stuka. Anybody else from public, please? Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name's Charles Bacon, 366 Rancocas Drive. Takes me a little while to get used to that after 30 years being on field. A couple questions about the budget. Thank you for going through the surplus and reserve. It confuses me, too. So first up, I know that when the mayor introduced the budget, there was a couple of big hits. One of them, I think, we're still self-insured. Is that correct? So we took a big hit on that. I understand healthcare is a tough thing. We're going through a pandemic and everything else. There was two other items. One of them I thought was to relieve, or something about the statewide pension, if I recall. I'm sorry, I didn't bring my notes.
500,000 in pension contributions, an increase of 500,000.
So everybody was assessed that, if you don't mind?
No.
Everybody? What do you, I'm not,
All the
as part of the
municipalities
taxes?
were assessed?
That's not done through us, we just get the pension. We don't, they give you that.
So the state gives you that, right. Do they give you a formula, how that's produced? I mean, how do we know that our assessment is fair compared to, say, Asbury Park? And I'm not picking on Asbury Park. I like Asbury Park. Oh, so it's a percentage. Okay, thank you. So we've kind of gone through the surplus and the reserve. Thank you for the explanations. I understand a little bit about bond ratings. But I think the point that I would like to elaborate on a little bit on that is holding $10 million in surplus. And I think that has to have a little bit of fluidity, and my recommendation would be, I certainly respect the reserve for uncollected taxes, and you have to maintain that level, but whether we need to maintain 10 million in surplus, I would question, and it should be, in my humble opinion, kind of reviewed every year. Now, if there's a bond rating issue with that, which I think a couple of people have questioned and asked for, I get some of that piece. If it's a percentage of our overall budget, I understand that. But the whole 10 million, if you said we had 10 snowstorms that cost us 800,000 each, I get some of that. It's very hard with a budget. I appreciate, I've done enough years of budgets in the private sector, so I certainly understand that. Another question I have, I guess somewhat related, thank you for the copies in the back of the courtroom. I looked at the user-friendly budget. And I've looked at it before. I'm glad they do that for people like me, because I've seen some of those things that you folks have to crawl through on a regular basis. And I also picked up just wanted to do a look back on the user-friendly budget from 2015. And one of the things I looked at in particular was the growth of the budget. I get all that. You've got a lot of contractual things going on. We've got healthcare issues. We've gone through a pandemic. But I kind of honed in on the FTE count of 2015. On the budget at full-time, it was 394. In this year's budget that we're going to introduce or adopt tonight, it's 430 on that side. And on the part-time side, it went from 51 to 71. That, to me, seems a significant growth. And I'm not sure if our population has increased to levels that may be warranted, or if somebody could provide an explanation of some of that FTE growth, I'd greatly appreciate it.
Okay. I think what everyone needs to understand about surplus is it's the results of operations throughout the year. It's not collection of taxes. If you look at the annual financial statements, this is all up on our webpage, and you look at sheets 19, 20, and 21, and it explains where the surplus, how the surplus amounted for that year. It comes through miscellaneous revenues not anticipated in the budget. It comes through reserves, because you can only have the current year, the reserve, and then that gets funneled into surplus. So last year we had 5.9 million in appropriation reserves because we handled COVID so well, with employees and salaries.
Got it.
So I want to make it very clear that it's not taxes. It's a whole host of other things, and I think you need to understand that. And if you go to the webpage, you look at this, you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them, but I can't give you an answer like this that would just make everybody, because it encompasses too many things.
No,
So-
totally understand. Yeah, I realize the complexity of these things. I do appreciate your background and knowledge on it. But my point of that was more
The amount
that,
that we have in surplus.
yeah, that maybe it needs to
Okay.
be a little more fluid because, some of this is a look back historically at what's going on. I mean, we had a little more snow this year, I think it's safe to assume, than we have in past years. And that takes where you want to have some kind of surplus or reserve fund. So thank you for that. But my secondary question was the FTE count that has grown in the town. And it's kind of significant between 15 and 22. And I think 15 was the first year we had
That
a
is the first year we
user-friendly
had
budget.
Yes, it is.
And when I look at those kind of things, and I see a decline in our enrollment in our schools, in a town that's pretty much fully developed, I don't know, 98, probably 99%. I look at those kind of numbers, and obviously having people involved in the town and people retiring, and I know some of them are going to be replacements. I totally understand and respect that. But that's a big jump, and that has an impact on the budget, right? And, in the private sector, we talk about fully loaded employees. It's not only just looking at salaries, it's looking at their benefits, their retirement packages, and all those other things. And I think, might not be in a position to answer that tonight, but I think it is something that should be addressed at some point with these increases and why they were increased. Because I'm sure there's other people that look at these budgets a lot closer than Charlie Bacon here. And just,
Yeah, a lot of it came down to, we used to have volunteer EMS.
Okay.
Now we have entirely paid EMS.
Yep.
So all those employees are new. We made a commitment to the police chief to go up in numbers of police officers. It was 123 when I became mayor. It's 146 as of yesterday.
Right.
To increase our safety, so that's 23 there. And then we didn't have a building department when I became mayor. The former mayor with the inspectors had a contract with Tom's River where we shared, and then Sandy had happened, and we were just treated as a secondary.
Right.
So we had to replace our entire inspections department as well. So that's big numbers.
Some of that, okay, thank you for that explanation.
Yep.
Are some of those police officer increases because of looming retirements coming out of the force, or is some of that just actually new police officers we're going to put out on patrol?
They're new police officers. We had committed to a number, I don't remember what it was, and then we, 7, 8 years ago, we kind of changed our philosophy with community policing, really doing an
Right.
emphasis
Mm-hmm.
because of the opioid problem we had in town, and problem areas. So
Yeah.
we committed at that point to go to, what was 146 as of yesterday, and will
Yeah.
increase over the next 2 years as well.
Well, thank you for your time. Let me come over,
Thank you, Mr.
another
Baker.
5 minutes, and
Thank
have
you.
a good evening.
If I could just add one thing as to the increase in the number of our officers. Chief Riccio has, as part of his efforts to stymie crime and to assist with the opioid addiction, has increased by at least fivefold the number of community policing programs that have been implemented. We have the Blue Heart program now, we have the Neighborhood Watch program now, we have the Lead and Seed, Coffee with a Cop, the DARE program, which has been enhanced, as well as about 6 others that have been implemented. So all of these programs, which have been effective, require more manpower. And so to have that happen, it required bringing in new officers to serve in those roles. And we have seen substantial difference since the implementation of the various programs. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else from public, please? Mr. Finelli.
$9,918,000 to $9,950,000. Is that an increase?
What are you referring to?
What have I been talking about? The surplus.
Surplus.
Last year it was $9,918,000. This year it's $9,950,000. Is that an increase of $32,000 or isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Who told me it doesn't go up? You? Nobody said it doesn't go up. It stays the same. It went up.
Anybody else from public, please? Observing no further questions from the floor, I'll entertain a motion to close this meeting.
Motion.
Well, the
Second.
hearing.
Roll call.
Councilman Albanese.
Yes.
Councilwoman Zapsik.
Yes.
Councilwoman DeYoung.
Yes.
Councilwoman Pontoriero.
Yes.
Vice President Crete.
Yes.
President Minikino.
Yes.
Thank you.
4-4, please.
Adoption of the 2022 municipal budget.
Okay, and a motion to adopt the 2022 municipal budget resolution, please.
I'll make a motion to adopt the 2022 municipal budget resolution.
I'll second it.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Albanese.
Yes.
Councilwoman Zapsik.
Yes.
Councilwoman DeYoung.
Yes.
Councilwoman Pontoriero.
Yes.
Vice President Crete.
Yes.
President Minikino.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. The 2022 Brick Township municipal budget has been adopted, and at this time, we'd like to return to our regular agenda, and thank you, Ms. Laffey, Mrs. Bergen, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Resolution 5-1.
Consent agenda. All matters listed under item consent agenda will be enacted by one motion in the form listed below. If discussion is desired on any item, this item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered separately. 5-1 is authorized acceptance of 2021 audit.
Thank you. Councilwoman Crate.
This resolution accepts the 2021 audit. There were no corrective actions or findings in this year's audit. Thank you.
Resolution 5-2.
Authorized 2022 temporary capital budget.
Mr. Mayor.
This resolution authorizes a temporary capital budget for 2022. This is specifically in the amount of $300,000 as needed to initiate a dredging project that is slated to begin on June 1st. So we won't have a regular capital budget with all of the capital spending, the trucks and the parks and the roadways and all completed before that, but we want to make sure we don't miss the June 1st window because there's only a very finite time that we can dredge. So the township's 2022 capital budget has not yet been approved, and this resolution allows us to secure the funding to start the project in advance of that as needed due to the timeline for the dredge project. Thank you.
Thank you. 5-3, please.
Amend Resolution 17122, Youth Leadership Grant Municipal, Brick Municipal Alliance Program.
Councilwoman Zapsik.
Thank you, Council President. This resolution amends a previous approval of the permission of New Jersey Human Services Youth Leadership Grant request through the Governor's Council on Alcoholism and Drug Abuse in the amount of $7,371.01. The amendment reflects an increase to the township's program in the amount of $1,415.53. The funding will go to the Brick Municipal Alliance.
Thank you. Resolution 5-4, please.
Authorize award of bid, purchase and delivery of janitorial supplies, remaining items.
Councilwoman Pantarera.
Thank you, Mr. President. This resolution authorizes the award of bid for the purchase and delivery of janitorial supplies to W.G. Mason, located in Cranberry, New Jersey, in accordance with an approved schedule of prices. Bid notices were provided to 43 vendors on the bidders list, and 7 requested the bid packages. 1 bid was received. Thank you.
Thank you. Resolution 5-5.
Authorize award of bid, road improvements to Lawrence Drive and Old Silverton Road.
Mr. Mayor, please.
Thank you. This resolution authorizes the award of bid for road improvements to Lawrence Drive as well as Old Silverton Road, and that's going to be awarded to Z Brothers Concrete Contractors of Sayreville, New Jersey, in the amount of $335,325.38. The scope of the work for the project is installation of stormwater drainage infrastructure, concrete curb, driveway aprons, reconstruction of curb ramps, full reconstruction of the pavement, and general surface restoration. Bid notices went out to 76 prospective bidders, and out of those, 13 requested bid packages, and out of those 13, 8 bids were received, and the prices ranged from a low of $335,325.38 to a high of $550,470, and the other ones in between ranged from $354,000 to $495,000, but the lowest bidder is Z Brothers, and that is what we're requesting to award in the amount of $335,325.38. Thank you.
Thank you. Resolution 5-6.
Authorize award of bid, mobile ice cream truck.
Councilwoman Pantarera.
Thank you again, Mr. President. This resolution authorizes the award of bid for a mobile ice cream truck to Piper's Treats, located in Breck, in the amount of $2,800. The approved vendor agrees to visit our most frequented parks and playground areas from Memorial Day all the way through Labor Day. Bid notices were sent out to 106 bidders. 7 picked up the bid packages. We received 5 bids, and Piper's Treats came in the highest. Thank you.
Thank you. Resolution 5-7.
Authorize sale of surplus property, solar renewable energy certificates.
Councilwoman DeYoung.
Thank you. This resolution authorizes the sale of surplus property via auction, specifically the 305 solar renewable energy credits generated from the rooftop solar panels at Town Hall. The township will utilize the services of Flat Exchange to administer the auction when the market price peaks.
Thank you. Resolution 5-8.
Authorize execution of maintenance agreement with County of Ocean, Block 869.33, lots 32, and Block 870, Lot 45.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, please.
Thank you. This resolution authorizes the execution of a maintenance agreement with the County of Ocean for a recently acquired open space parcel. Something we've been working on, as everybody knows, we have the Brick Open Space Savers, the BOSS committee, trying to take a look around all over town to see what pieces of property that we can maintain as open space. This particular parcel is on Freedom Road and West Drive with the County of Ocean acquiring it, and this maintenance agreement is consistent with other land acquisitions, whereby the municipality agrees to maintain deed-restricted open spaces within its borders, so that we can enjoy having our trees as much as possible. So thank you. And
Thank you,
to the
sir.
county.
Resolution 5-9.
5-9A is a performance bond release for Hallmark Homes on Pine and Forest Avenues in the amount of $16,711.59 to be returned to the applicant, and the Ocean First Letter of Credit number 1211 in the amount of $150,404.14 to be returned to Ocean First Bank. B is an inspection fund release for Scott's Masonry and General Contracting on Jack Martin Boulevard in the amount of $250.
Thank you. Resolution 5-10.
10A, tax overpayments for 2022, there are 7. 10B, cancel and escheat premium monies for tax sale certificates, there are 5, totaling $38,200.
Thank you. This ends our consent agenda. Can I get a motion and a second to end it?
Motion?
Second.
Open to council. Seeing none, close council. Open to public for questions on the resolutions only. Mr. Finelli.
10B, could somebody give me a little better definition of what that is? And the word escheat, I couldn't find that anywhere.
So if there is no owner of record, if there's someone who's deceased, and there's no trail, then the property or the value of which goes back to the state is just a short version that I understand. I don't know if anybody else has anything to add.
The property goes where?
The value of the items on the list go back to the state, because there's no owner that could be found.
State gets it?
The state gets $38,200 worth today, yeah.
Isn't that generous of you? And the word escheat, what does that mean?
It's just what I explained to you in the best lay version I could find, which is when there's no, when the property owner passes away and there's absolutely no family or no will leaving it to anyone.
Okay. Escheat and state go hand in hand.
Mr. Saluka, sorry.
John Sluka, 950 Sylvia Court. Just one thing. Authorized the 2022 temporary capital budget. It's a temporary partial capital budget, I believe, right? Because it's not really a temporary budget on the capital. Otherwise, you're going to come back in a month from now and say, here's an extra $400 million, or whatever the number happens to be. It's going to look a little weird. This is a partial budget only.
Just a little.
Right? Okay. And the other thing is, just for SG, under the SG laws of the state of New Jersey, I urge everybody in the whole, you people up here, everybody at home, go on the state website, look up the missing money. There are millions and millions of dollars. It's required by law that counties, businesses, banks, everything, once they can't locate you, or they think they can't locate you, has to put that money to the state. Every state requires it. Every state gets the money, and their reasoning is, you are members of the state, every one of us, and therefore we'll hold the money for you. No company, no small town, no anything else should hold the money. The state will take care of it for the people, and they will not give interest in anything else, and there's billions of dollars there. And people say, when I was teaching classes, I had people do it, and some people only got $25, $50 back, but I could tell you some people got $8,000, $9,000 back that was missing from a relative from 20 years ago. So that's what SG laws are. It's required by the state. You have no choice. Banks have no choice. Businesses have no choice. It even includes things like utility bills that you put deposits down and moved, and they say they can't. So it's really there. Go to, I think it's missing money, NAUPA, it's really the right initials, National Association of Unclaimed Property or something to that effect. Go there, you'll find money. Everybody I've ever told that to found a neighbor, a friend, or a relative that has money that the state's holding. So why should the state have your money? you're worried about having $135 a person being held up in the surplus. Get your money out of that place. Okay, thank you.
Thank you,
and
sir.
can I just, I'm just going to add to that, make sure that you check any state you've lived in, and also check names, because, you know, I've had a couple different last names. So
Well,
make sure you put in every name that
You
you've
are
ever
absolutely
had.
correct.
I
Married
found
names,
I found money under a
in,
previous
in
name.
reality, I even found one from my uncle Buddy, who I never knew his real name was James. You know,
See?
and the kids, his kids who are in their 50s, the money they had was when they first got married. Not the kids, my uncle. And it was a couple $1,000s. And they kept the money, no interest for 50 years. Okay? So, yes, you're right. Check every name, every neighbor, everything else. State shouldn't have the money.
Exactly.
Thank
In New Jersey, the website, just so everybody knows, unclaimedfunds.nj.gov. So that's only for New Jersey. If you lived anywhere else, you got to find those.
Ms. Cole?
A few items. Nan Cole, 18 Greenbrier Boulevard. The statement was made about the 2021 audit, that there were no findings. There must be a report saying that. How can I get a copy of that report?
I can email you the report tomorrow.
Please do.
Mhm.
You have my email. 5.4, the award of a bid for janitorial supplies, remaining items. Is there no business name that goes with that?
It was W.B. Mason, I believe. It was W.B. Mason.
W.B. Mason.
And I did state that, Ms. Cole. I did state it was
Yeah.
WB. I promise you.
Okay, I'll watch it on
Because
television.
my
but I
my
didn't
B's
hear it.
are difficult for me, so anytime I have to make a B sound, I remember it.
I got the numbers of how many bids were sent, picked up, and that there was only one. And the name of the business is important. I'll address it in combination with the next one, I think. The mobile ice cream truck. I believe you said that was Piper.
Piper Treats. Treats.
Treats.
Treats. Like sugar treats.
Treat or treat. And you said that it would go to various locations for a period of time in the summer. Is there any required number of times to see each location,
No.
or it's,
It's at their discretion based on what they see and observe as to the number of people which go to certain parks.
okay, then
Yeah, they can stay as long as they want, but they have to go to each one twice.
Do I understand then, by deduction, like Sherlock, that they agree to give us $2,800 no matter whether they make a penny or they make nothing, or make $2,000, $5,000, so that the more times they go to a place, the more likely they are to make money and recoup their investment? Is that what it is? Is that how it works?
Yeah, they pay us $2,800.
Okay. No matter how much they get, and the more times they go, the more they'll get. Could you please give me a little bit more about the solar renewable energy certificates? Is that for French's landfill, where they put the solar field?
No, I said it was the rooftop solar panels at Town Hall.
The rooftop solar panels at Town Hall is what that's for. And I believe that there was a mention about getting them when the price is desirable. tax overpayments. I don't see any names on that. I think we are entitled to know that. And also, there's two attorneys sitting side by side, in addition to another attorney. Somebody should have been able to tell us exactly what escheat means. I'm sure you know it well and could have done it without the people really belaboring themselves. And what I was going to address is, it's important that you let us know who the bids were picked up by, who submitted bids, and the amount, because the law, if I'm correct, and I know that the town attorney, Mr. Keneally, will correct me if I'm not, that on that, if somebody knows a reason not to take the highest bidder on the cost of things, that can be omitted based upon them not being somebody who had served us well in the past. I believe that's the provision of that law. Am I muddying it up by how I said it?
Public bidding is lowest responsive and responsible bidder, so.
And responsible, and therein is what I'm addressing. If somebody knows that that particular person, vendor, what have you, has not been responsible in the past, not done business correctly, then we don't have to accept theirs, even though they're the lowest.
We'd have to have, it's a basis for rejecting a bid,
Yes,
which
But-
opens you up, you have to have a valid basis for doing so. The law presumes the lowest responsive bidder, responsive meaning they fully filled out the bid specs, is the appropriate party to award a contract to. However, there is a process where you can reject that bid based on responsibility.
and that's the reason for having this public hearing and telling the names of it, because if I've dealt with it and the person is not a responsible business person, or the firm is not a responsible firm, and I have proof of that, it can be me who says and offers the information, but it's the township that rejects it. But you have to find that out.
Thank you. Anybody else from public? Hearing none. Close public. Roll call.
Councilman Albanese.
Yes.
Councilwoman Zepsic.
Yes.
Councilwoman DeYoung.
Yes.
Councilwoman Pontarero.
Yes.
Vice President Crate.
Yes.
President Menachino.
Yes.
Thank you.
511, please.
Be it resolved by the Township Council of the Township of Brick that the following bills be paid, and that the mayor and clerk be and are hereby authorized to draw orders on the treasurer for the amounts of the same. Computer bill resolution in the amount of $599,517.80.
Need a motion in a second?
Motion.
Second.
Open to council. Seeing none, close council, open to public for questions on the computer bill resolutions only. Seeing none, close public, roll call.
Councilman Albanese.
Yes.
Councilwoman Zepsic.
Yes.
Councilwoman DeYoung.
Yes.
Councilwoman Pontarero.
Yes.
Vice President Crate.
Yes.
President Menachino.
Abstain Teamsters, yes to the rest.
Thank you.
512, please.
Be it resolved by the Township Council of the Township of Brick that the following bills be paid, and that the mayor and clerk be and are hereby authorized to draw orders on the treasurer for the amounts of the same. Manual bill resolution in the amount of $472.
Thank you. May I have a motion in a second?
Motion?
Second.
Open to council. Close council. Open to public for questions on the manual bill resolution only. Questions? None? Close public, roll call.
Councilman Albanese.
Yes.
Councilwoman Zepsic.
Yes.
Councilwoman DeYoung.
Yes.
Councilwoman Pontarero.
Yes.
Vice President Crate.
Yes.
President Menachino.
Yes. 6-1, please.
An ordinance vacating any rights to a public right-of-way across property known as Block 857, Lot 22, in the Township of Brick, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey.
The council Land Use Committee is recommending vacating a public right-of-way on Division Street. This request was originally reviewed by the committee in August 2021. At the time, the resident reached out in regards to a suspected error on the tax map. The suspected error appeared as a 10-foot wide easement on the tax map that runs through the property of 35 Division Street, Block 857, Lot 22. The easement passes through both lots 22 and 23, the neighboring property. This easement actually originated on Lot 23 as a 10-foot wide right-of-way. This was determined by the deed from 1956 from the specific tract of land that mentioned the establishment of the ROW, right-of-way, occurring from a civil engineer plan from 1951. The township has been provided with a survey map certified letter from the neighboring property owner confirming no interest and is termination of access easement. I need a motion and a second.
Motion.
Second.
Open to council. Seeing none. Roll call.
Councilman Albanese.
Yes.
Councilwoman Zepsic.
Yes.
Councilwoman DeYoung.
Yes.
Councilwoman Pontoriero.
Yes.
Vice President Crate.
Yes.
President Menachino.
Yes. 6-2, please.
Bond ordinance providing for the dredging of the Nageco Beach Lagoon, Block 97, lots 96 through 114, and Block 98, lots 1, 2, 83 through 95, in and by the Township of Brick in the County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, appropriating $300,000 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $285,700 in bonds or notes of the Township of Brick to finance part of the cost thereof, and the special assessment of the cost thereof.
Mr. Mayor, please.
Thank you. Everybody, I think everybody out there knows, we had to apply for a statewide dredge permit. We didn't have to. We decided to because that's the largest expense with regards to getting a dredge project underway for residents. So instead of having each individual neighborhood or lagoon neighborhood apply for their own permit, we decided as a town we're going to get a statewide dredge permit to allow the neighbors to use that permit. So that takes away that expense for them, as well as the time-consuming aspect of it. So we've received the statewide dredge permit from the New Jersey DEP, and that was a project that took years in the making for us to go through it as well. So our engineering department has identified 5 priority areas in need of dredge, and have identified Nageco Lagoon as the first lagoon to be dredged. The project is slated to start in June of this year. The 2022 capital budget, as I mentioned before, includes the upfront cost needed to begin the project, and earlier on the agenda, the council passed a resolution approving a temporary capital budget for this project so that we can meet the stage dredging deadline. This bond ordinance is needed to secure the funding for the actual project. Thank you.
Thank you. Been a motion and a second.
Motion.
Second.
Open to council. Close council. Roll call.
Councilman Albanese.
Yes.
Councilwoman Zepsic.
Yes.
Councilwoman DeYoung.
Yes.
Councilwoman Pontoriero.
Yes.
Vice President Crate.
Yes.
President Menachino.
Yes.
Thank you.
7-1, please.
An ordinance of the Township of Brick, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, authorizing a special tax assessment for Nageco Beach, Block 97, lots 96 through 114, Block 98, lots 1, 2, 83 through 95, for lagoon dredging project.
Thank you. Mrs. Bergen.
Thanks. The township has received a statewide dredge permit from the NJDEP, a project that was years in the making. Our engineering department has identified 5 priority areas in need of dredge, and we have identified Nageco Lagoon as the first one to be dredged, as the mayor said earlier. The project is slated to start in June. As a project including private property, the township must proceed with the required cost share from private property owners. This ordinance establishes the need for the project and the need for the assessment. A meeting with the property owners was held earlier this evening to go over the specifics. A letter summarizing the cost of the dredge will be sent to all affected property owners requesting their interest in participating. Proceeding with this project will only go forward if a majority approves an interest in proceeding with the dredge.
Thank you. May I have a motion and a second?
Motion.
Open to council. Close council. Open to public. Yes, sir.
I take it by your comments that this hasn't been finally approved until all the residents vote for it, or is it a go deal?
Well, we are queued up and ready to go, and the residents are aware of that. They're also aware of
that there's a cost share, so some are obviously and wisely want to have all of the specifics before they would like to commit. So we'll give them that window. We certainly don't want to force a community to do something, but since 2015, they've been rigorously and consistently begging us to help them with this lagoon,
Okay.
and that's exactly what we've done.
2 questions if it does go. Number one, in section 1, it says period of usefulness 20 years. Does that mean the usefulness of the lagoon after it's dredged?
No, I think that's a term that we have to use when we're doing a bond. We have to select a term, and our auditors and our bond counsel.
Oh, so it has to do with the bonds, not
Yes,
a
that's
guarantee
correct.
on the lagoon. Okay, my second question, I think I understand the 285, 700, you're putting up 14,300. So the whole $300,000 is going to be bonded, and then people are going to pay you over 10 years. Is there an interest rate, a cost of the bonds, and if so, who pays that?
So are they all, it's all in the ordinance, the soft costs, all the soft costs are in that account, or in that money.
Are in the 300,000? Okay. Are we up to public comments or just comments on this?
Not yet, sir.
Can I ask a question on the budget, or wait till the end?
Yeah, we're on this particular ordinance right now.
Okay.
Thank you,
I'll come
sir.
back.
Thank you. Ms. Cole?
Nan Carl, 18 Greenbrier Boulevard. I have a vague idea when a Jeco Lagoon is. Don't have a really clear-cut understanding about lagoons, but that's not the point of my speaking. You said that not all, at this moment, of the lot owners, homeowners, whatever, probably an association, are on board with having the assessment. I'm having a difficult time understanding, knowing that this has been a problem for many, many years with maybe not Nageco alone, but people having some lagoons along that area needing it dredged, and I cannot understand how we can really allow some of them to not participate. I know it's not very delightful to have to force them, but they have wanted it for years and years, and if they don't do it now, and then after the summer they find it really is needed, then what? So I'm having a difficult time understanding why we can't say, this is what we're going to do, and this is what you're going to have to pay on an assessment. And that's my comment.
Thank you. Anybody else from public, please? Closed public, roll call.
Councilman Albanese.
Yes.
Councilwoman Zapsik.
Yes.
Councilwoman DeYoung.
Yes.
Councilwoman Pontorero.
Yes.
Vice President Crate.
Yes.
President Menachino.
Yes.
Thank you.
This brings us to our public comments.
Please note that each person addressing the council during any section of the meeting during which public comment is permitted shall limit his or her remarks to 5 minutes pursuant to Brick Township Administrative Code, Section 2-33B.
Mr. Finelli? Getting your steps in tonight.
Keep making me come up here. But I did get a turkey. In fact, I ate it tonight. Just to answer a question quickly, if I live on a lagoon but I don't have a boat, I don't care how deep the water is. So I might not want to pay. So here's my question. I'm looking at page 2 of the municipal user-friendly budget. Comparison municipal purposes tax levy. Last year, 78,198,000. This year, 80,547,000. So the tax levy going to the public is increasing by $2.349 million. I'm assuming you need that money to make the budget. How am I doing so far? Pardon me?
Go ahead, let's go ahead.
Are you collecting the money? Are you- Huh?
I'll
No, I know you're not. So this looks to me like you're increasing the municipal tax levy, the money that's coming from the taxpayers,
Right.
by $2.3 million.
Correct.
Now, I'm assuming that the reason you're doing that is because you need that money to satisfy your budget. Or why would you be raising the tax levy? And when we talk about budgets and when I talk at the school board and everything else, when it all comes down to no matter all those other numbers, it's how much money you're collecting from the taxpayers. That I raise my hand because that's what most affects me. I'm part of that. I got to give more money. And I'm not the part that has an average of $2,240 tax levy on my house. So, here's your chance to shut me up. You needed $2.3 million. If you took that $2.3 million that you needed out of one of those funds we were talking about, the reserve fund or everything else, would you not have to increase the tax levy? If you had $2.3 million less in the reserve fund, for example, would you not have to increase the tax levy?
It's not just taking $2.3 million, so the answer is no, that's not how it works.
No?
No.
That answer ain't gonna shut my mouth.
Okay, well, I don't want to shut your mouth, I want you to understand, and I try to explain it to you. You have come in, and we have spoken
Yeah,
before.
yes,
So
yes.
why don't you come in again, and I'd be happy to explain it to you.
What?
But no, just taking $2,349,318.32 out of surplus would not make your taxes not increase.
Why not? You're increasing the municipal tax by $2.3 million because you need it. So if you took it out of there, I understand you'd have less in there, but you wouldn't have to raise this tax levy. You wouldn't have to be increasing what you're collecting from the public this year. Maybe next year you would, I don't know. But this year you wouldn't have to do it, and we would not see an increase. And you know, you say, well, we only do this much, but you're only one piece of the pie. You know, and then on the other page you have all those other things that get collected. You know, the municipal, the fire district, the school district, county purposes, the library, everything. All those other things add up. And that's what I'm talking about. We just keep increasing what we're taking from the public. It's got to stop somewhere. You know, it just, you can't keep just increasing spending and taking more money and taking more money. That's what the mass exodus is about. And you could do this. You could take a little more risk, but you choose not to.
Thank you. Anybody else? Mr. Sluka.
John Sluka, 950 Sylvia Court. I'm going to, what I come here for, read my letter. April 22nd. Dear Mayor Ducey, to Council President Vince Menachino, all council, Brick councilmen and councilwomen, residents, workers of Brick and Ocean County. From what I see, the Brick Mayor's office and the council do a pretty fine job on things under their direct control, but have little, if any at all, influence on items that are under the domain of other forms of higher forms of government, such as the county, state, and federal government. Two panoptic examples here in Brick are the lack of any kind of sign at the Wawa Route 88, where cars and trucks routinely make left-hand turns in and out of the entrance-exit of this establishment. Months ago, the mayor told the town signs would be put up eliminating left-hand turn, dangerous traffic blocking situation, but nothing to date has gotten done. It seems the mayor doesn't even have influence over the Wawa itself, as not one indicator in that lot states no left turns out of that Wawa lot. The second example, of course, is why I come every week for the last 10, 11 years. The Garden State Parkway, toxic influence on our town residents. What is obviously needed on the Garden State Parkway near Evergreen Woods, Primrose Garden, Greenbrier, Town Hall, Birchwood Park, Brick High, Brick American Field, Sutton Village, Lanes Mill School, and other places in Brick is a 14-foot pollution, safety, and noise wall and increased forestation to curtail some of the damage caused by the illegal actions of the commissioners of the New Jersey Turnpike Authority. Having safety walls and a long overdue vast replantation of brush and trees is necessary and should be commenced immediately. There have been thousands of studies around the country and the world, and in general, they all conclude the same thing. Air pollution from traffic harms residents. Many studies from groups like the Environmental Protection Agency, Massachusetts Institute of Technology published the results in magazines like that Nurses Times I've talked about in the past. These studies are universal in their conclusion, and they state air pollution from exhaust fumes kill more than twice as many people as road accidents, and worldwide that's 13,000 a year. With a wall, we may be able to curtail some of the ills that are befalling our children and seniors, and in fact every citizen here in the Shore community, by compelling the New Jersey Turnpike Authority to build those walls. But this can only happen with the persistence and courage from our representatives by taking legal action. Unlike representatives in the federal government, we cannot be beholden to the lobbyists, power brokers, political parties, and bureaucracies associated with independent agencies like the New Jersey Turnpike Authority. If you read some of the thousands of studies that concluded that air toxins are causing our children asthma and other lung ailments, you will act. If you read these studies that suggest mothers-to-be may have autistic child caused by Garden State Parkway toxins, you would not sit idly by, but you would act. If you read these studies, you would act, because taking no action against the New Jersey Turnpike Authority commissioners may mean your mother, your father, your neighbor will suffer lung and heart ailments and die prematurely. A representative people should not be a mouthpiece for big government and big business, and they should stand up for the people of the communities. A wall and increased forestation may not be that perfect solution, but it's at least a start of something that is needed to enhance the health and the well-being of Brick and Ocean County families. I think that's the end of my letter. Just questioning Board of Ed Thursday meeting, I believe, unless they changed it again, just so everybody knows. And that's my thing. I'll yield back 45 seconds. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Cole.
Nan Call, 18 Greenbrier Boulevard. There are several things that I want to address, and none of them speak or bode well. Number one, I have taken to using on some posts that I do with friends, family, etc., capital G, capital A, capital B, and that means God, awful, brick. I went out today, I live in Greenbrier too, and went to Staples over where Costco is. How many people here were around to remember, as I do, the missing mile? Well, it's now 2 missing miles. It has increased from the original one and is longer, and it took me something like 15 minutes to go from, before Chambers Bridge, across Chambers Bridge to Target. 15 minutes, that short distance, not to mention coming from Greenbrier. You are the people who control the town. I have no power. I can stand here and you ignore me, have for 20 years now, and you do nothing. We need to bring back caucus meetings separate from the public meeting, so that the public meeting can be short and sweet, because everything has been gone over at the caucus meeting, and things that we want, like new business on an agenda, if you're following a proper agenda. So the council meetings, council comments should come before ours, so that we know what you didn't say. That said, today I happened to be going through some email, and I found a notice that was of interest to me, and that there are many people that may feel the same, that on Saturday, April 30th, at the Clarion Hotel down in Toms River, there will be Deborah, who's a great, great hospital. We should have had them tell all the hospitals in the state how to run their appointments. My husband spent several years with cancer treatments there and lung removal of a lobe, many things. It was a great process, so well organized. They are having a free screening event from 10 to 2. And the woman told me when I called to say I'm interested in it, and she took my name, that included massages. I said, in all my 80 years, I have never had one. So she says, well, come down and get one. I want to go for the screenings because they haven't been doing the skin cancer screenings that used to be done at the hospital every year around June. So many other things that we did screenings. There is so much that we should be aware of, and I want to know, when are we going to have walkable streets here in this town? I thought, I had a dream like Martin Luther King had. I had a dream that I was coming to the nostalgic old town, simple life, beach area, and would walk places. When I was in Brooklyn, it was not unusual to walk 2, even 3 miles. I remember walking my children when they were like 5 and 6 in a blizzard, 3 miles to the shopping center and back. They were well provided with heavy clothing, and they didn't mind the breeze going across Marine Park, which is very, very, very cold all the time. So we have a councilwoman who had some meetings in the Civic Plaza about walkable communities, but there's never any follow-up. We listen, but nobody pays attention. We need more intersections. We need to have parallel streets. You need to look at the master plan and redo how our town is laid out. It's worse than a big city. Brooklyn is one of 5 counties that comprise New York City. Brooklyn is Kings County. There's Queens County, there's Richmond County, and Manhattan and Bronx. And here, you're one town, and nobody can walk anywhere. Not to mention, how are we going to get around when there's going to be electric cars?
Anybody else from public? Seeing none, thank you. Council comments, Mrs. Bergen.
No, thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, thanks to the last 2 speakers pointing out, thank you to Mr. Sluka, that we do a great job here in town. And I think it was an endorsement of us to run for state office. It sounded like that to me, to try to figure out what's going on, and maybe even the county from Ms. Cole. With regards to the Wawa, the state contacted us, and they contacted us at 2 o'clock in the afternoon on a day back in November. I don't remember the day. And they said, well, if you can get this on the agenda, we can get this sign up pretty quickly. So literally 5 hours later, we were in this room, council passed it, and here we are 5 months later, and it's still not up, right? So what happened? Well, of course, we always follow up with the state, what's going on. We have a sign department. We have a DPW. We can put these things up in about 15, 20 minutes. So the DOT gave approval to allow lefts off of Route 88. So now they have to backtrack. There also was approval to make lefts out of the Wawa onto Route 88. So they're in negotiations with the owner of that plaza, which is a very difficult person. Everybody may remember that we were in a lawsuit with him for a number of years. And so that's what the state is going through. They're going to have to negotiate because of some decisions they made in the past. So it's not that we don't have an answer. We did exactly what, like you pointed out, we did exactly what we're supposed to do here in Brick Township to take care of our residents, and we have leadership above us at the county and state level that aren't right there. The same thing with the county. We're talking about complete streets and safe crosswalks and all. We don't own traffic lights, we don't have any traffic lights that Brick Township owns. They're either owned by the county or the state. Roads to get anywhere, and a lot of people are confused. I go to the schools all the time, and it's one of the questions I get. So I try to describe, I know there's some houses on county roads, but it's really the roads that you go to get anywhere, none of those are owned by the town. They're, if you go Herbertsville, Brick Boulevard, Route 70, obviously, Route 35, just Church Road, you name all the smaller ones, Drum Point, Maniloking, Chambers Bridge, Cedar Bridge, anywhere you go to get anywhere, they're owned by the county. The county does not want to take part in the Complete Streets program, so they won't allow us to do different things. Every single year we go to a meeting and we ask for bike lanes. The county, as an example, the county says absolutely not. We want to try to get bike lanes on Manilokin Road to get people to the beach and have them ride their bikes there instead. The county has 2 bike lanes in the entire county. We're lucky enough to have one here in Brick on Princeton Avenue. The other one's LBI Boulevard down on LBI. They will never do another one because they said it's a complete nightmare. They don't know how to maintain it. People complain because there's garbage cans in the bike lane. People complain that people pass on the right. So they said, we're done with bike lanes. We will never do another bike lane. So that's something that's missing at that county level. You need to have forward thinkers. So I appreciate, thank you for the last couple of people pointing those things out, of things that we would really love to fix and have tried to, but we get stonewalled. So that's unfortunate. And it's a couple of little highlights of the budget. Since it did pass, I want to thank the council for passing the budget. We talked a little bit about this earlier. The proposed spending plan included a number of significant increases, including an increase of $500,000 in pension contributions, $529,000 for police salary, an increase of $587,443 in bond payment principal, and an increase of $1.58 million in insurance costs. When you add all those together, that's $3.2 million, of which if we didn't make cuts and didn't use surplus and things like that, our taxes would have gone up. That was 3.2 cents. Luckily, we were at the stage of only having to increase 1.9 cents. So that's a lot of hard work, and the council has a lot to do with it. They're the ones who come up with the different spending and things like that, and it takes a lot of work of all the department heads to make their budgets smaller because we need things like public safety. We don't have a choice, with regards to the pension contributions. Again, that comes from the state level. So in the 9 years since I took office as mayor, the municipal budget has only increased $12,820,000, which is an average of approximately $1.4 million a year. In the 9 years prior to this administration, myself being a mayor and the council here, the budget increased $40,860,000. So 9 years to 9 years, and that's an average of $4.54 million compared to $1.4 million, even though costs, as we all know, have gone up. The proposed local tax rate, the portion of the tax rate that's used by the municipal government, is 76.6 cents per $100 of assessed value. So what that means, yes, the budget did increase 1.9 cents. So what does that mean in terms of what you have to pay in your taxes? So for the median assessed value home in Brick Township, which is $251,800, this is an increase of about $4 a month, $48 for the year, and this is for the total tax bill that has our awesome police department in there, our police EMS, which is our ambulance, all of our garbage services, recycling collection, senior services, all of our senior programs, all of our road maintenance, the maintenance of our parks, the maintenance of all the recreation facilities we have in town, our leaf collection, our brick recreation, all the programs they do, and then obviously all the statutorily mandated services, the tax assessor and building department and engineering and all those other things. All that is in that budget. Everybody knows how everything's gone up. Gas has gone up, insurance has gone up, and it is going up as well. It's $4 a month. So $4 a month is for all the services that are there. And just a comment on the surplus. 12 years ago, when our township used 99.42% of the available surplus, in order to balance the budget. So they did that. That's exactly what I promised I would never do. That's my whole thing. It's irresponsible. I'm too conservative to do that. You know what happened when we used the 99.42% of that surplus? All they did is to say, oh, we didn't have any tax raise. We didn't have any tax raise. And it just balanced the budget, ate it up over the years. And then, bam, 26% tax raise 1 year. And that is what makes people leave. $4 a month, $48 a year, that doesn't send people packing. 26% and stuff that people can't afford. And it comes as a total surprise because they think, oh, it was zero, everything's great. These guys are great, this government's great. 26%, bam, now you're moving out. That's where you get hit. I promise never to do that to anybody. I promise never to do that to any young family, to any senior in town. And we're just going to keep on doing what is right for now and doing what's right for the future of Brick Township. Reducing the debt. All this matters. I just told you about what the bond contributions we got to do. It went up over $500,000. That's because what happened 10, 15, 20 years ago. So yeah, some of us may not be here 10, 15, 20 years from now, but is that what it's about? Or it's about, let's just do what's right for our future, for our kids and for our grandchildren. And that's what it's about, creating a budget and making a budget that's fiscally sound. So, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Keneally.
I have nothing this evening, thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk.
Nothing, thank you.
Madam Secretary.
Nothing, thanks.
Councilman Albanese.
Nothing, thanks.
Councilwoman Zapsik.
Thank you, Council President. Several years ago, I had attended a workshop for municipal recreation directors across the state. And I honestly couldn't tell you what the content of that workshop was, but I do remember that the instructor walked in, looked around the room, and said, I have one thing to say to you people. When somebody says to you, but it's for the kids, run, because it almost never is. Sometimes that has been borne out in my experience over the 15 years I worked as a municipal recreation director. But I guess I must be lucky because I worked with a lot of very terrific people who really were in it for the kids. And at the top of that list is Debbie Graham. Debbie was raised in North Bergen, New Jersey, where during her early 20s, she began her lifelong love of the game of softball. She moved to Brick in 1980, where she continued that love and volunteered as a two-sport coach and eventually as a manager, helping to develop Brick Township girls softball and basketball programs. Her ability to treat each player as if they were her own child showed through year after year, where she maintained strong, lasting relationships with her girls until her last day. Debbie's career in recreation sports in Brick Township spanned nearly 50 years. I just ask you to let that number sink in for a little bit. That's 50 years of nights and days spent on the softball fields or in the gym, time spent away from her family, harried meals, trying to get to the gym, possibly missing her own children's school events. Well, I had the privilege to know Debbie for 20 of those years, and I have never met anyone who is as big a champion of youth sports, particularly girls sports, in Brick Township as Debbie was. She advocated fiercely for equal time for girls sports, for equal quality of playing facilities for girls sports, and for equal opportunities for girls to participate, to learn, to grow into their sport, and most of all, to be recognized for their excellence in their sports. She literally touched tens of thousands of lives of Brick youth during her 50-year career. Debbie lost her battle with cancer early yesterday morning. I would just ask you to please keep her in your heart and her family in your prayers. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman DeYoung.
Thank you. I have an event for our seniors coming up on May 13th. It's a Cinco de Mayo, or really, I guess it's Trece de Mayo event. It will be at noon at the Senior Center on Adamson Road, the VFW, with a taco bar and games, and you must call to reserve your spot. It's 732-920-8686. I'd like to thank Mo and Joanne for all your work on this budget, and to all our employees for all their work. Every year, year after year, we ask them to do more with less, and they always find a way to pull through. So thank you to all our employees. I'd like to remind everybody that our farmers market begins May 7th, and May 8th is Mother's Day, and they sell flower baskets at the farmers market. So while you're there, you might as well get your Mother's Day flowers. And with that, I want to wish all the moms out there a very happy Mother's Day. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Ponterera.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to send my deepest heartfelt condolences to Debbie Brown's family. I had the good fortune to have known her for the past 6 years, and I echo the comments made by Councilwoman Zapsik. I also want to thank profusely the hard work and effort of Ms. Lassie and Mrs. Bergen, doing what seems to be impossible year after year, which is making our money stretch further. I wish I could hire her to do my own budget, hire the both of them and just help me and figure out, because every year we buy more equipment, every year we increase our programs, every year there's more recreation activities, and when we look at an increase of what comes down to annually about $50, it's amazing when you really look at what we obtain in Brick Township for ourselves, for our seniors, for our children, and I just want to recognize the extraordinary efforts that took from Mrs. Bergen, Ms. Lassie, all the department heads and all of our staff making hard choices about what to cut and what not to cut. Second, I want to thank, from the bottom of my heart, the hard work and effort of our EMS. Unfortunately, I had to utilize their services again as I suffered a heart attack. Many people don't realize that once you have cancer and cancer treatment, particularly radiation, close to your heart, it weakens your heart muscles. So 80% of people who have radiation will suffer a comorbid condition, a condition at the same time, such as a weakened heart. But EMS and Brick Hospital were kind and wonderful to me, and went above and above and beyond to make sure that I was comfortable and well taken care of. I only raise this to thank our EMS, but secondly, the American Cancer Society has a fabulous program. It's called the Guardian Angels program. I volunteer as a guardian angel, and all that it means is that if someone gets the same type of cancer that I have and gone through treatment for, and let's say that they're going through a hard time, the American Cancer Society will put them in contact with me so that I can share my experiences and help them in any way that I can. Head and Neck Cancer Awareness Month is coming up. This is, unfortunately, head and neck cancer carries with it the second highest suicide rate of any type of cancer. Suicide is being committed by people with head and neck cancer, not during the treatment, it's after, for all of the impacts on every part of your life. Head and neck cancer right now is striking people 40 to 50 years old the most. Please take advantage of the screenings that are going to be happening at Brick Hospital, Memorial Sloan Memorial Kettering, which is right in Middletown. Many of our dentists are giving screenings. I've called about 8 that I have made contact with who are going to offer screenings to their patients. It only takes a few minutes to look inside your mouth to see if there is something that may be cancerous. I want to remind everyone, I did not know I had stage 4 cancer. All I had was a little, I want to say boo-boo on my tongue that could have been from me biting it in my mind, but I didn't think anything of it. And because of that, it turned into stage 4. Don't be me. If there's something unusual that you have, go to see a professional. With the Awareness Month coming up and the suicide rate climbing every month, this is now a very, very important issue. And it's striking, again, 40 to 50-year-olds. So please pass on that information. Thank you.
Thank you. Council Vice President Crate.
Thank you. I just also want to thank both of you for all the work you did on the budget. We have a wonderful town, I think, that has something to offer everyone, from children to families to seniors, and everyone in between, and all seasons. So, and because of your work on the budget, we can continue to bring all of those great things to all of our communities. So thank you for doing that, and that's all I have for this evening.
Thank you. Ms. Laffey, Ms. Bergen, thank you very much. I know it's not easy sitting in the hot seat, but you guys did a great job. I just want to say our next meeting is Tuesday, May 10th, 2022 at 7 p.m. here. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
All in favor?
Aye.